Have you ever felt like something invisible was sabotaging your efforts, your happiness, your relationships? Like a dark force was weaving a web of deceit around you? What if I told you that this feeling is not just your imagination, but a subtle and profound reality that affects more than you can see? Today, we're going to expose truths that can shock, reveal, and ultimately set you free. We're diving deep into the 4 lies the devil wants you to believe that could be destroying your life. These aren't just fallacies. They're meticulously designed traps to divert you from your true path and potential. First, the lie that you're not enough. How many times have you sabotaged yourself by believing that you don't deserve success, love, or happiness? What if this belief is one of the greatest frauds imposed on your mind? Second, the deception of fear. Fear is a paralyzing tool, but what if it's just a smoke screen, hiding your true capabilities and the brilliance of your spirit? Third, the delusion that you are alone. In moments of despair, you may feel as though you are isolated in a cold world. But what if this is a manipulation to keep you from ever discovering the power of true human and spiritual connection? Fourth, the deception of powerlessness. The feeling that your actions have no impact can be devastating. But what if this is the biggest lie of all, designed to keep you inactive and resigned? These lies are just the surface of a spiritual battle that is being waged around and within us. How can you begin to see through these illusions and take control of your own life? Don't let these lies define your destiny. It's time to face these shadows with courage and truth. Subscribe to our channel now, where we will uncover these and other truths, equipping you with the knowledge and strength to fight against these deceptions. Don't miss your chance to transform your life. Click subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our deeply revealing videos. It's time to free yourself and live the fullness that was destined for you. First lie: you are alone in your struggles. Have you ever felt completely alone, even when you're surrounded by people? Have you ever felt that in the midst of your struggles and hardships, no one could truly understand or reach out to help? This sense of isolation is not just a lonely experience. It is a powerful weapon used to weaken the human spirit and create invisible barriers between us and those who could offer us comfort and understanding. Isolation can set in subtly. It starts with intrusive thoughts that whisper that our problems are unique, too complex, or too shameful to share. These thoughts are like seeds of doubt that, once planted, grow silently within us, distorting our perception of reality and our support networks. When you feel alone, you may start to withdraw from people without even realizing it. You cancel dates with friends, avoid deep conversations with family members, or choose not to share your true feelings. It may seem like you're simply shielding others from your problems, but in reality, you're cutting yourself off from the one thing that can truly strengthen you: human connection. This isolation strategy is so effective because it directly attacks our fundamental need for belonging and acceptance. When we feel disconnected and alone, we become more vulnerable. Struggles seem bigger, challenges more insurmountable, and life seems bleaker. Isolation changes the way we see the world and ourselves. It paints our lives in darker colors and leaves us questioning our own worth and capabilities. But what happens in our minds when we are isolated? We start to spiral into a cycle of self-analysis and internal criticism that only fuels our loneliness. Our thoughts become our worst critics, and every past decision or mistake is endlessly dissected and judged. We become trapped in our own heads, convinced that there is no way out and that no one could possibly understand. In addition, isolation can blind us to the opportunities for help that surround us. There is always someone willing to listen and lend a hand. But the lie of isolation makes us doubt their sincerity and availability. We convince ourselves that our problems are a burden to others, and so we fail to seek out the help and comfort that could easily be obtained. It is crucial to understand how isolation manipulates our perceptions and influences our behavior. It turns small streams of worry into stormy seas of despair. But each of us holds the key to breaking these chains of isolation. By recognizing these tactics, we can begin to consciously seek connection, open our hearts to friends and family, and seek out communities that share our experiences and feelings. Second lie: there is no forgiveness for your mistakes. Have you ever found yourself dwelling on past mistakes, feeling a wave of guilt every time an unpleasant memory surfaces? The idea that there is no forgiveness for your mistakes is a devastating lie that can haunt your mind and heart, preventing any steps toward personal or collective redemption and acceptance. This belief creates an internal prison where the walls are painted with failures and regrets, and the bars are forged by the constant fear of judgment. This deception begins by subtly infiltrating our thoughts, suggesting that our past actions are unforgivable and that we are defined by them. As this idea takes root, it becomes a powerful mental obstacle, blocking the vision of a future where we can be free from these bonds. The lie that our mistakes are inevitable makes us believe that we are less worthy of happiness, love, or any form of inner peace. In this scenario, each mistake we make becomes a permanent mark on our being, a stain that seems impossible to wash away. Over time, this realization can lead us into a spiral of self-loathing and hopelessness, where the idea of forgiving ourselves becomes a foreign and unattainable concept. We are perpetually left feeling unworthy, not only in the eyes of others, but, most painfully, in our own eyes. The falsehood that there is no forgiveness becomes a real barrier to seeking help or sharing our burdens with others. Fearing judgment or rejection, we choose to carry our burdens in silence, which only reinforces loneliness and isolation. This fear of exposure prevents us from experiencing the relief that understanding and acceptance from others can offer. The thought of opening our hearts and revealing our flaws becomes so daunting that many choose to retreat into their own shells, further distancing themselves from healing and true understanding. Furthermore, this lie convinces us that even divine forgiveness, often seen as infinite and unconditional, is out of reach. This can distort our relationship with spirituality, making us feel abandoned or forgotten by a higher power that, in many beliefs, is seen as a source of love and mercy. This distortion fuels a disconnect not only with our own spiritual selves, but also with the community and practices that could offer support and comfort. By internalizing the belief that our mistakes are irreparable, we lose the ability to see error as an essential part of human growth. We fail to recognize that each failure can be a springboard for personal improvement and an impetus for personal transformation. The view that we are incapable of being forgiven robs us of the opportunity to learn from our actions and evolve beyond them, keeping us stuck in a cycle of self-condemnation and stagnation. Third lie: you cannot change the lie. Have you ever felt trapped by your own past traits or mistakes, as if you were doomed to repeat them forever? The lie of immutability is a powerful mental trap that suggests that we are incapable of change, that our essence or behaviors are permanently fixed, regardless of our efforts to improve or evolve. This notion that you can't change is particularly destructive because it attacks the root of what makes us human: our ability to grow, learn, and adapt. This lie creeps into our minds during moments of weakness or failure, whispering that our past attempts define all future possibilities, that the past is a harbinger of the future, and that old failures are indicative of our future capabilities. When we accept the idea that we cannot change, we begin to view every challenge or obstacle through a lens of hopelessness. If one believes that one's negative qualities or mistakes are static, then any effort to change them seems futile. This mindset can lead to a state of resignation, where the potential for personal action and transformation is substantially diminished. The danger of this mindset lies in its ability to make us passive observers of our own lives, rather than active participants in our personal development journey. Furthermore, the belief in immutability can create a vicious cycle of reduced self-confidence and low self-esteem. When we believe that we cannot change, any small failure or setback can feel like confirmation of this belief. Over time, this mindset can lead us to avoid new experiences or challenges, for fear of further confirming our inability to change. This not only limits our life experience, but also prevents us from reaching our true potential. This lie also affects our relationships with others. If we believe that we cannot change, we may also assume that others are equally immutable, which can lead to hasty judgments and stagnant interpersonal relationships. This can result in unresolved conflicts and missed opportunities for mutual understanding and relational growth. The perception of immutability not only confines us to our own perceived limitations, but also prevents us from seeing others as beings capable of change and evolution. The lie that you can't change is a direct denial of the dynamic nature of the human being. We all possess the inherent capacity to change our ways, learn from our mistakes, and grow beyond previous expectations. With each new day, we face the possibility of renewal and reinvention, but when we are convinced of our own immutability, these opportunities can be overshadowed by the shadow of past doubts. Fourth, lie: you have already lost salvation. Do you ever feel so desperate and lost about to realize that there is no more hope for you? The idea that you have lost salvation is one of the most perilous and debilitating lies that can infiltrate our consciousness. It attacks not only our self-esteem and motivation, but also our faith and sense of spiritual purpose, suggesting that it may not take too long for any kind of redemption or good time. This notion creates a gloomy scenario in which people are hopelessly distant from any possibility of redemption. The idea that salvation, understood as a reconciliation with the divine or a recovery of one's own moral and spiritual integrity, is out of reach and devastating. When someone believes that they have lost their chance of salvation, they may experience a feeling of total abandonment, or that often leads to a state of deep despair. This state of despair can be especially dangerous because it triggers a chain of negativity and resignation. Thinking that there is no more salvation available can make people feel free to abandon efforts to improve or change. Once, in their mind, those efforts become useless. This type of thinking can lead to self-destructive behaviors, once the lack of hope or incentive to maintain healthy standards of life and relationships. Elam Disso, believing that the rescue was not lost can lead to social isolation. Feeling unworthy of love or grace, individuals may become alienated from friends and family, refuse help, and turn to themselves. They may feel so stained or mistaken that they begin to avoid human contact through play or resentment, further exacerbating their solidity and suffering. This lie also has the power to corrode faith. For those who believe in a greater force or in a spiritual order, thinking that they will never lose their salvation can deeply praise their relationship as divine. They can begin to question the justice or mercy of their spiritual beliefs, or themselves turn to the shores of their practices and religious communities, feeling brought or abandoned by what once gave them comfort and direction. The false belief in irreversible loss of salvation does not only affect the vision that people are afraid of itself, but it can also distort the world around them like the barnacle. Everything can begin to seem bleak and without hope, and every experience or interaction can be seen through a lens of fatalism. The ability to see beyond us in situations may diminish, as people may become consumed by their own narrative of despair and condemnation. Fifth lie: you are not loved. Are you stuck thinking that maybe you're not worthy of love? That perhaps there is something in you that afastas pessoas, doing is true and lasting love, seems like a miragem always out of reach? This corrosive belief that you are not loved or loved is one of the cruelest and most incapacitating lies that can infiltrate the human mind. It does not just rely on self-esteem and emotional well-being, but also has the power to distort your personal relationships and your perception of yourself. When this lie gains space, it installs a constant shadow over your interactions and experiences. Every little conflict or complaint can seem like a confirmation that you really are not worthy of love. This can lead to a cycle of self-sabotage. The less you feel comfortable, the more you can begin to behave in ways that really harm people, reinforcing the initial belief. This lie also deeply affects the ability to build and maintain healthy relationships. It is believed that he is not worthy of love. He may find himself receiving less than he deserves, tolerating abusive or negligent behavior because, in no way, he feels that he is the most he can expect. Alternatively, you may become excessively lacking or dependent, constantly seeking confirmation and approval from others to pre-ensure the void left by that internal krinka of unworthiness. The impact on self-esteem is equally devastating. Prove that it is not possible for you to question your own value as a person. This can manifest itself in all areas of life, from hesitation in expressing oneself to avoiding pursuing goals and dreams, by falsifying and confirming these negative beliefs about oneself. Life can become a series of self-commitments, where you put in less effort than you could and do less than you deserve. Because you don't work, you feel that you are doing everything you can achieve. The solid that Advim feels a mamavel and profound. It may seem like you are surrounded by an invisible wall that separates you from simple joys from genuine human connections. Parties, social gatherings, and even family gatherings can become desolate territories, where you feel more isolated in the middle of the crowd. surrounded by laughter and conversations that always seem to be out of reach. This lie, once rooted, can also distort how you interpret other people's behavior. Courtesies can be viewed with suspicion, as it is impossible to be genuinely kind without some ulterior motive. This can lead to a cynical and distrustful view of the world, where the true intentions of people are always questioned and sincerity is rarely seen at first sight. Sixth lie: you should fear the future. When the middle of the future sets in, it can contaminate every decision and every opportunity with a cloud of doubt. Do I know something is wrong? You Falher? These questions may seem answerable at first glance, but when influenced by unrealistic means, they become barriers that impede progress and progress. Anxiety about the future can grow and become a daunting giant, doing the same as the simplest tasks that seem daunting and loaded with the potential for failure. This type of behavior often manifests itself as procrastination or avoidance. Instead of facing challenges or making decisions that could lead to personal or professional growth, you fear the future may find you paralyzed, unable to move forward. This behavior does not only impede progress in the direction of goals and dreams, but it can also lead to a feeling of stagnation and frustration. You may begin to feel like you are always in the same place, unable to move forward, trapped in a cycle without end of what could be instead of exploring what is possible. Also, fearing the future can deeply affect interpersonal relationships. Long-term commitments can be avoided, whether people or professionals, due to the uncertainties that man can create. This can lead to isolation and solidarity because you are hungry for opportunities to connect deeply with others or to build long-term projects together. It can also distort your perception of risks and opportunities. Instead of evaluating situations with a clear and open mind, we fear the future can only see the potential risks, ignoring the possible benefits. This can prevent innovation and creativity because the mind is too focused on avoiding or failing to achieve success. Finally, this exaggerated worry that is about to happen can lead to mental health problems, such as chronic anxiety and depression. The constant burden of fear or confusion can be devastating, draining emotional and physical energy. The quality of life can suffer significantly because it sometimes turns into the joy of the present and paints the future with gloomy cores of doubt and despair. Seventh lie: you do not deserve to be happy. The idea that you don't deserve to be happy often stems from a negative self-perception. This view of yourself can be the result of past experiences, criticisms, failures, or rejections that have left emotional scars. These scars can form an internal narrative that says that happiness is reserved only for those who are somehow more worthy or better than you. This thinking can be especially prevalent in times of vulnerability, when life's challenges seem to confirm this false belief. If you're facing a difficult period, such as financial problems, relationship challenges, or internal struggles, the lie that you don't deserve happiness can feel like yet another painful truth, making the possibility of better days seem distant and unattainable. In addition, this belief can lead to social isolation. Feeling unworthy of happiness, you may withdraw from situations that could bring you joy or from people who could share positive moments with you. This, in turn, reinforces isolation and fuels loneliness, which can become a breeding ground for sadness and melancholy to deepen. At work and in other areas of daily life, thinking that you don't deserve to be happy can affect your motivation and engagement. It can make you hesitant to pursue opportunities or take initiative, for fear that any effort will be futile or doomed to failure. This behavior not only limits your potential for growth and success, but it can also decrease your overall satisfaction with life. Within personal relationships, this distorted perception can create a dynamic where you constantly undervalue yourself or settle for less than you deserve, believing that you are not entitled to anything better. This can lead to unbalanced and unfulfilling relationships where your true needs and desires are never fully recognized or valued. The lie that you don't deserve to be happy can also profoundly affect your mental health. It can contribute to the development of conditions such as depression and anxiety, where constant self-criticism and hopelessness can feel like constant companions. The struggle to see yourself as someone worthy of happiness and love can feel like a constant battle against a tide of self-doubt and negativity. To conclude our video on 4 lies the devil has planted in your thoughts that could be destroying your life, I would like to reinforce the importance of maintaining constant vigilance over our thoughts and feelings. Often, the lies that torment us are like seeds planted by the enemy, waiting to grow and lead us away from the path of light and truth. Always remember that you are not alone in this battle. Seek support in your community, share your struggles with trusted friends, spiritual leaders, or counselors who can offer uplifting and truthful perspectives. And most of all, strengthen your faith and relationship with God through prayer, meditation on the Word, and participation in activities that feed your spirit. Truth is your greatest weapon against the enemy's lies. When faced with thoughts that make us feel inadequate, unwanted, incapable, or unloved, we must turn to God's promises. He tells us that we are loved, that we have a purpose, and that we are more than conquerors through Him who loved us. Finally, I encourage you to reflect on what you have learned today. What lies do you need to confront and eliminate from your life? How can you replace them with empowering truths? Take a moment now to pray, asking God to reveal and remove any deception in your life and to fill your heart with His life-changing truth.